All right, I apologize to Jeffrey R. Smith for making him hold 5 minutes. We're really honored to have him, and I've got his bio here, but I hate to make folks talk about themselves, but it's better if you just describe yourself and introduce yourself. We carry some of your amazing books and videos. Seeds of Deception, Genetically Engineered Foods by Jeffrey M. Smith. Keep calling him R. Smith. I'm out of my mind today. And Genetic Roulette, also, and the GMO DVD, film, and audio CD trilogy, all available at Infowars.com. I hope you'll support us and support him by going to Infowars.com and getting those. Jeffrey M. Smith, good to have you back with us.
Thank you very much, Alex. Great to be here.
Good to have you here. I never asked you this. Have you ever been approached to sell out?
No, I haven't. I've often thought if Monsanto's willing to give me millions of dollars to stop talking about them, I could just funnel that into anti-GMO activities and maybe I'd sell out. but no, I have never been asked to sell out in any form.
Mm. Well, that's when you know the New World Order's real, buddy, when they come at you over and over again.
So far, I protected myself. In fact, I knew that other people that had written books before I published Seeds of Deception, some friends of mine published a book against the grain. They were about to publish it, and 3 days before it came off the printer, a threatening letter from Monsanto's attorney forced the publisher to stop the presses and cancel the publication. So they were eventually able to print it somewhere else, but I decided to turn down an offer by a publisher to publish my book so that I could publish it myself, because I knew that they couldn't stop me.
See,
I also didn't let them,
That's why I haven't gone with big film production companies that have wanted to bring in professional teams and all those folks and do TV series and a bunch of other stuff folks don't know about. Because exactly by signing on to that, then it brings other people into control, and then you could lose control.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that have been wanting to option my first book, Seeds of Deception, for a film, but I'm very cautious about losing the control, because they might just flip it so that it may make Monsanto out to be benevolent.
Well, that happened to Jesse Ventura. I think he got like $3 million to do a year TV show on MSNBC. It was a 3-year contract, $2 million a year. I'm going from memory here what he told me in the car, and he's also talked about it here on air some, but when he was here visiting us, and they didn't tell him, it had golden handcuffs in there, but he did, and they said right after he signed it, it's like, all right, now you're out of the game for the war we're about to have. And they just basically bought his contract out, and he sat there for 3 years. And then that's why he finally now was able to go public in the last year and a half, because that contract was up, saying he could do no other media. So, they do it.
Yes, it's true. What I do is I try, like you, getting information out there on YouTube and on my website. In fact, just 4 weeks ago, I got an email from India saying that they found that the genetically engineered Bt cotton is causing massive deaths and reproductive failures in buffalo and cows, and that hundreds or thousands of people in the region who are touching the cotton that's genetically engineered to produce this toxic pesticide are developing allergic reactions like itching.
Okay.
So what I did is I said to them, please, let's document this, let's get it videotaped, and so we were able to raise money to get an investigative team in there with a video camera and 2 veterinarians and a reporter and a project leader, so that will be able to be put out for everyone to see what's really happening there.
Absolutely. Now let's go back, and I'm really going to try to give you the floor, so you're going to be running here. What you think is most important, the melamine, the estrogen-mimicking endocrine disruptors in the plastics, the GMO, the India situation, because you really are one of the leading experts. Tell folks who you are, then about some of your books and videos that we have available at Infowars.com and also on your own site. Give folks that. And then you've got the floor, sir, whatever you think is most important to tell people, because this is a public service announcement is what this is in the truest sense, so people have a chance to know what's in their food and their water and ways to try to protect themselves.
Great. Well, my expertise is really on the genetically engineered foods and crops. That's where you take genes from one species and you force them into the DNA of other species, causing massive collateral damage, in fact, in the DNA and lots of unpredicted side effects. Now, these were originally introduced in our food supply widely in 1996, and that was because the first Bush administration believed that genetically engineered foods, largely produced from the Monsanto company, would increase U.S. exports. And what happened was they told the FDA to promote the biotechnology industry. The FDA then created a new position for Michael Taylor, Monsanto's former attorney and later Monsanto's vice president, to be in charge of policy. The policy came out with a blatant lie, claiming that the agency wasn't aware of any information showing that GMOs were significantly different. GMOs means genetically modified organisms. As a result of that lie, they said no safety studies are necessary. Monsanto and others don't even have to tell the FDA in order to put these foods on the market. Well, we know now, 7 years after that policy came out in 1999, 44,000 internal secret memos from the FDA were made public because of a lawsuit. It turns out the overwhelming consensus among the FDA's own scientists were, in fact, that genetically engineered foods could create allergies, toxins, new diseases, and nutritional problems, that it was different from normal foods, and then, in fact, the scientists were appalled that it was going to be put on the market quickly and had urged their superiors, like Michael Taylor, to require long-term safety studies. Now, I'll footnote this by saying Michael Taylor is now on the Obama transition team overseeing agriculture, and that concerns me, although hopefully he's reformed. But what's happened since then, GMOs have been out on the market since 1996. There's now 8 commercialized genetically engineered food crops. We'll go over them in a minute. And what I did is, in my second book, Genetic Roulette, I documented, with the help of more than 30 scientists, all of the known health risks of GMOs. And we've linked GMOs to thousands of toxic and allergic reactions in humans, thousands of sick, sterile, and dead livestock, and damage to virtually every organ and every system studied in animals. And that came out last year, but last month, 2 government studies came out, which I blogged about on my Huffington Post blog, and it turns out an Austrian government commission study showed that when parent mice were fed genetically engineered corn, which is currently approved on our diet, that it had a reduction in the number of offspring and in the health of the offspring as judged by the weight of the offspring. So it caused a level of infertility and damage in the next generation. And the Italian government commissioned a study, which also came out last month, showing that the corn creates an immune response, suggesting that it might create allergies or inflammatory responses or immune responses in humans. So we continue to pile on information showing that genetically engineered foods are unsafe. Now, I realize I didn't really talk about myself. Now I can talk about myself in the context of my work. I've been working on genetically engineered foods for about a dozen years. I worked at a GMO detection laboratory as a vice president of marketing. I ran for U.S. Congress to raise the awareness of the issue. I've published Seeds of Deception and Genetic Roulette. I have a film out which is available online for free called Your Milk on Drugs, Just Say No. Another one called Hidden Dangers in Kids' Meals. And I've been traveling to about 30 countries, counseling senior political leaders, speaking to the media and the public about the dangers. And more recently, my Institute for Responsible Technology has put together what's called the Campaign for Healthier Eating in America. It's a campaign designed to achieve the consumer rejection tipping point of genetically engineered foods in the United States, and we think we can do this before the end of 2009. Now, a tipping point is something where we turn the use of the genetically engineered ingredients into a marketing liability, forcing food companies to take it out of their products or face reduced sales. Now, this happened with bovine growth hormone, genetically modified drug inserted into cows to increase milk supply. We had a kind of a tipping point against RBGH by consumers because of the obvious health dangers, which I'll tell you about in a minute. And that occurred about 2.5 years ago. And since then, more and more dairies and retail stores and chains have taken out of their products. The most recent one to take it out was Subway. They announced it 2 weeks ago. Walmart earlier this year, Starbucks the end of last year, Kroger in February.
Even
about 40 of the top. Yeah.
Even Borden's is now. I mean, you can't hardly find the growth hormone milk now. So this is one area where we're having massive victories against these global crime cartels. This is so exciting what's happening. So we're having victories. Consumers can vote.
Absolutely. In fact, our organization was part of the group of organizations that engineered this tipping point. It wasn't just random. We started educating people about the health risks of the bovine growth hormone. The milk itself has more pus. It has more antibiotics. It has more growth hormone. It also has more of a hormone called insulin-like growth factor 1, IGF-1, which in high levels in humans is linked to cancer and high rates of fraternal twins. And it's in much, much higher levels in the milk that comes from these treated cows.
And that's why we see all these twins suddenly everywhere.
Yeah, in fact, there was a study that came out in the Journal of Reproductive Medicine where they compared the fraternal twin rate in the United States to the UK. Now, the UK, they banned the use of bovine growth hormone. In fact, it's banned in most industrialized countries, in all of Europe, Canada, Japan, Australia, New Zealand. But it was put through in the United States when Michael Taylor, Monsanto's former attorney, was in charge of policy. It was a Monsanto drug until they sold